Excellent. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Karen Tyrrell, one of the most esteemed authors in all of Logan. How are you going today?
That was very kind of you to say that, Rhiannon. I'm doing very well, thank you. Very happy to be here and talk about the Logan Writers Festival coming up and the publishing panel.
Yes, it's going to be honestly, it's going to be fantastic. I think that Logan, as a literary space, has so much in it, and yet it just hasn't been brought together, not in any kind of effective way. So we are so excited to show people the journey to publishing. It's going to be a fantastic talk, and I think that we've wanted you there for a while now, so this is going to be a really good year. I've been to a few of your talks before about publishing and grants and things like that, and I know you speak very well. So tell us a bit about your journey into this space.
Well, I don't have a regular type of journey. My journey, I think is
anyone
pretty unique.
does.
Yeah, I started off as a teacher. I was a Logan school teacher back 20 years ago now, I suppose, almost 20 years ago. And I was having a wonderful time as a teacher until I had a horrid year when I was bullied by the parents of my student, both parents, and the student bullying me too. I became extremely ill, ended up in a psychiatric hospital for on and off over 2 years. But when I came out, I was resolute in writing my book. I was actually writing it the whole time I was in hospital. I think I filled up 6 A4 sort of spiral books with quotes from doctors and nurses and patients and my thoughts. Anyway, I wrote my first book. It was called Me and Him, that's number 2, sorry. Me and Her, a Memoir of Madness. And it's a true story of how I became ill, but also how I recovered. And I just like to read just a few words that always make people sort of eyes bulge a bit. Me is the wife, the mother, the writer, and the teacher. But her was manic, psychic, or so I thought, healer to the living, so I thought, telepathic to the dead, and I was very, very psychotic. So I wrote that in 2 points of view. The me was the regular person, and the her was the psychotic person. So I wrote that, and it did extremely well. I got interviewed on Channel 7 News. I had radio interviews over Australia and also from America. I was interviewed by journalists in the Middle East, and it just went crazy. And this is back in 2012. And then the following year, I brought out my book to explain book 1, I suppose. It's Me and Him, a guide to recover all the secrets and the truths that were that I didn't mention in book 1. Yeah. So and that book was endorsed by the Black Dog Institute. You may have heard of it. You can see it just there. So that's how I started my writing career. That was 14 books ago.
Oh my goodness. And you know what? It is from our greatest moments of adversity that we have this whole new change in our journeys. I find that my mum was a school teacher as well, and she left not because of parent or student bullying, because of staff bullying. And I have had, my editor is also a school teacher, and it's a very similar thing. She was very happy to move away from her school that she loved. She loved the students. She loved her direct colleagues as well, but she was bullied out of that role too. So it's absolutely phenomenal how.
But I went back to teaching to prove that I could.
Oh my goodness!
I went back. I was in hospital for 3 months the first time. I went back 3 months later.
Yeah.
Then I had a worse account. Yeah. Something worse happened and I explained that in the book. And then I went back to school again, had a few more months off, and then I went back. I went back for another 3 years before I decided that I wanted to write more than I wanted to teach.
Yeah.
And then I made that decision to write full time.
Yeah. I think that it's not quite a lost art, but it's definitely a bit of a hidden art. Everyone has a story. Everyone's story is so valuable, and it shows everyone else that they're not alone. Because
That's
in
right, for
those
sure.
moments, you feel so alone. You feel so like you're the only person that has ever suffered that pain before a lot of the time. And that's because it's yours and it's very personal.
That's right.
But yeah, when you come through and you start writing those things, when you start writing about other people's stories, or even just characterizing others in fiction, you realize that no one is ever alone and everything has been repeated. Um,
That's right.
and it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing. Those patterns are incredible to follow. It's like you're following a little ghost map of someone else's path. That's
Yeah.
phenomenal. And kudos to you as well for coming through all of that and making the decision to write. Because when you have that calling, sometimes you have it from the moment that you pop out and you just, that's what you need to do and that's what calls to you. And other times something happens and it sort of
Yes.
unveils to you and you
Yeah.
realize, no, this is my path. This is what I need to do.
Yeah. I wanted to be a teacher from the age of 7.
Yeah.
I always, that's all I ever wanted to do. But I had those years of being a teacher for quite a few years, and then I wanted to write that story. But then I returned back to teaching in a way because I wanted to write books for children to help children if they were going through anxiety and depression and bullying like I did.
Mm.
So I wrote the first children's book I wrote, and my husband was in my ear and he said, "Write books for children." And I said, "I think I want to write crime. No, I think I want to write romance and science fiction." And I joined all these groups and I tried it for about 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
And then he said, "No, write children's book. That's what you know. That's your experience." So anyway, I wrote Bailey Beats the Blah to help children with childhood anxiety and depression.
Yep.
That was endorsed by the Kids Helpline. And then
Beautiful.
I wrote a book about bullying called Stop the Bully. It's got the little Kids Helpline logo on the back there.
Oh, incredible.
And yeah. And then another thing at that time, also my husband and I were both going through quite traumatic times with our fathers. Both of them were diagnosed with anxiety, Alzheimer's, and we were
Oh
going to
no.
visit them in nursing homes. And one of them was in Logan, another one was in Sydney. And we wrote Harry Helps Grandpa Remember. And
Oh.
yeah,
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
it's a story for children. See what children can do to help their grandparents remember. Oops. Oh,
He was crawling around my legs, and I was like, I don't want to suddenly go, stop that.
and I was very lucky. I won a grant through Logan City Council and
Did
RADF.
you get the RADF grant for that one?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
won 7 grants, and this was my. This actually wasn't my first one. I actually won a grant for me and her to pay an editor.
Oh,
That was my
wow.
very first grant. Yeah, so that grant came out before that book came out. So I think this was my second grant, and this one was endorsed by Alzheimer's Australia. So I was
Stunning.
extremely fortunate to get that support.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
there's having that altruism and knowing that your book is going to directly impact and benefit people who need that, who without it would not be would be worse off. So by having that, because Alzheimer's is so common,
Yes,
and
it's more
again that
more than
adversity, yeah, yeah, and the more we learn about it, the harder it is. I think the Terry Pratchett, I can't remember if it was Alzheimer's or dementia, but he had family members, and then eventually succumbed to it. So it's heartbreaking to see someone of such wit and of such gosh, yeah, I'm losing words, of such literary skill uh, decline like that. It's really
yes,
sad.
it is
Um,
sad.
but there's still joy to be found in those moments.
Yeah, that's right. Just
Yeah.
the everyday moment, spending time with your loved one, and all the memories and the
Yeah.
photos and everything else, the singing, the dancing, the laughter. There's still laughter and all those good things at
Oh,
that time as
absolutely.
well.
And
Yeah,
my nan, my dad's mum, currently has Alzheimer's, dementia, somewhere in that bracket, and it shows you so much to be in the present with them right there and then.
that's right. Enjoy
Um,
every
yeah,
moment. Mm.
and I started to play a game where she would ask the same question about 10 times over, so I knew that it was coming, and I'd just give her silly answers,
Mm.
which would make her giggle, and be like, oh, Rhiannon, why are you so weird? But it definitely breaks it up a bit.
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
I'm trying to think of which book I think I bought. I'm always been a big sci-fi fan.
beautiful.
So I had to write a Super Space Kids series, Joking Battles the It and Joking versus Lord Terror. And my husband, Steve, he's always been my number one critique
Yep.
buddy. And he's helped me to write a lot of the humour. A lot of the humour in the book, it's a combined effort. But my husband's got it. Definitely, you can see, that's his sentence. He wrote that sentence, something funny, because I think the power of being a writer is networking with other writers, and them critiquing your work and then sharing ideas of how to improve your work. Like you critique their work, they critique, you critique each other's works, and you both give them tips on how you can write, how
Mm.
you can improve your writing, and how you can add extra things into your work.
I agree entirely. I have a group. We are very not serious about it, but in the 2.5 years that this group has been running, it's really just a Friday night get together. If we did have alcohol, we would, but we have hot pot instead. And it's only once a month. But in those 2 years, reading out trashy romance or whatever scenes that we've written, or setting each other little challenges, and being light about it, has improved our writing exponentially. So have people around you that write differently from you, that write in the same genre as you, and flow with that. It's such an incredible experience to be able to share that knowledge, and to you don't even realize that you're growing and developing because it's fun and it's something that you love doing.
That's right. It's always, writing's always got to be fun. If it's not fun, well, why do we write? It's got
Yeah,
to be fun. That's the bottom line. Because if it's fun, we're going to keep writing it. We're going to, get up the next day and want to write again. So yeah,
beautiful.
always keep it fun. And talking about fun, I love superheroes. And I wrote a whole superhero series, Songbird Superhero. I'm a big fan of Roald Dahl. And
Yes,
yeah,
legendary.
this has got little hints of Matilda in it, about a bullied girl who gets her superpowers through music and through singing, learns how to fly and saves the day. I won't go into details who or what she saves, but this is the first in this series, and I've done extremely well. And I'm very proud this book has actually been translated into Braille.
Oh,
So
incredible. Was that
what
through
an
Braille House?
yeah, through Braille House in Brisbane.
Oh,
Yeah,
amazing.
you can go to Braille House and get a copy of Songbird in Braille.
Beautiful.
So I think that's just, yeah. And I was approached, and it was, I think, oh, I would love to do that. So yeah, yeah,
You know what? And I think authors need to know that Braille House is there as well, because you
yeah,
can
that's right.
approach them. I'm
Yeah,
looking at getting the Wolflock cases transcribed into Braille as well. And
oh, fantastic.
it's something that we did in the chamber just recently, just talking about
Mm,
accessibility. And
that's
so
right.
having your books in audiobook form and
Yes.
in Braille, or in some form of visual form, and
Mhm.
having them in avenues where people can get them through libraries,
That's right.
eliminates a lot of the disabilities that people have. It allows them to cross that threshold, and it doesn't include just physical disabilities, but it can also include mental and emotional ones, like when you've
Mhm.
got agoraphobia, or if you've got autism and going out to the library is not part of your regular, but using the library app is.
Mm.
And it allows them to get access to your stories. And as long as you're part of the lending rights scheme, you can still get paid for that.
That's
But
right.
it allows your stories to touch people's hearts. And I think that's why we write. We write because it's not for the money. Heaven knows it's not for the money. It's because you have a story to tell, and you need that out there. So
Yeah.
tell us a bit about how you publish, because
Okay.
like I said, you're on the publishing panel. And were your first books self-published, or
Well,
were
I
they
don't call my books self-published. I call my books indie published.
indie published?
Indie published. Self-published has got a bit of a bad name.
Yep.
And any book can be self-published. You could get a
Yes.
book and you could print it out tomorrow, and there could be a huge scale of difference between a book that is well written, well formatted, perfectly designed
It
cover.
looks like it's traditionally published.
Indie published, I'd like to think my books are as equal to traditional published books as far as I'm picking it's been critiqued several times by my critique group. It's been edited. My book has been formatted by the best formatter, the best cover designer, and the best printer.
Yeah.
So when I take it to a bookshop, the bookshop cannot tell the difference.
Mm.
The bookshop thinks it's traditionally published.
Yes.
And that's why I was being able to get all my books into bookshops over the years, not only in Queensland, but in other states and in America too. I've had couple of my books in US bookshops.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's all to do with quality.
Yes.
And not
Yeah.
rushing the book. Some people want to, write it one day and print it the following day, and it's just you just got to take your time. Quality takes time,
Yes.
and and I think that's a very important thing for authors to remember.
Yeah.
Quality over anything else. It's got people want to read it.
Yeah.
It has to be readable.
I think for me, I'm a checklist person. I have processes and Excel sheets and checklists everywhere to keep me on track, so that I don't skip steps and that I do make sure that quality is right up there. And sometimes you will go back to your work and you'll be like, oh, you know what? That could do with a bit of a dress up. But most of the time, if you've gone through those lists, it's going to be the best that it can be.
That's right.
And
Exactly.
you learn speed. It's kind of like, it makes me think of Karate Kid. Where he's doing the wax on, wax off, and he has to do the motion repetitively.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
eventually you build speed, but you need to build precision first. And it's exactly the same with writing. You write the story, you write the first draft, the second draft, all the way up to whichever draft you feel like you've got it fully fleshed out with. Then you edit it, and then you do several different types of edits. Then you send it to your critique groups. Then you send it to your beta readers, your editor, and you have all of these different steps. Then you do your formatting. Then you do your publishing.
The cover is the most important thing. Cover will sell your book.
Yes.
Or not sell your book. So
especially for
the cover
kids'
is very. Pardon?
Especially for kids' books, because
for children's books,
your cover has to look good in paper. It's so difficult to sell kids' books as ebooks. I think
I don't worry about ebooks for my kids' books.
No.
One's for adults.
Yeah. It's really difficult for kids' books and ebooks to correlate with each other, because parents want their kids off devices. They buy them a paperback book for a reason. But yeah, I think that people don't realize your cover is so essential. I have to read on my covers 3 times now. And the reason is because I'm stubborn. And I have a couple of graphic design skills. So I thought, I can do this. This is fine. And I did the first one and I'm like, no, I can't even look at this anymore. Like, I actually feel embarrassed that this one's out there. So if anyone's got that first book, first copy, special edition for that one. But it took me 3 goes to finally get it, and it took me 2 weeks or no, I think it was closer to a month actually, to actually nail the design of the books. And it takes a special kind of brain to do that. I think with something like erotica and romance, it's a bit easier. There's a very set standard and formula, and as ebooks, people want that quantity. Um, but you can tell when it's quality, and people love it more. People will sell it for you very easily. Like, it will sell itself if the book is good quality.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to think. Do you have any other questions you want to ask me now, Rhiannon, or do you want me just to show you the last of my 14 books?
Do you have a big stack there of them?
I have them all spread out against I got the 14 here across.
Oh, I wish you know what? Take a photo with your phone, and we'll put that up as an extra picture when we do our stuff. But
Okay.
yeah, show us through the rest of the books that you've got there.
Okay. Well, I've got 2 books on Logan. Being a Logan writer, I've written 2 books about Logan. One is they're both children's books.
I think I can see one behind you there.
You may have seen Ready, Set, Discover Logan, and that
Beautiful.
won a grant from the Queensland government. And there's the logo, and it's also sponsored by Logan City Council.
Beautiful.
And yeah, this book's I've actually done another reprint, and I'm expecting more copies of this book today. So I'm just looking. I've got the window here and one eye out for the truck to come out. Hopefully he doesn't knock on the door while we're speaking. Yeah. And I recently was commissioned to write this book about the history of Logan and the Gold Coast, called Follow the Sugar Trail.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes, and I think one of your other Karens is an author of a book about the history of the Sugar Trail. She's got your Karen T. Karen T.H.
Oh, Karen Thurich. Yes.
Yes, she's got a book about the plantations.
Yes.
More for adults, and this one is more for children.
Yeah, she does medical anthropology, so hers are crime.
That's right. Anyway, this one is the history of the Logan, history of Logan and Gold Coast. And this one was commissioned by 3 clubs of Beenleigh, the Rotary, the Seroptimus, and the Quota Club.
Oh, I keep seeing the Seroptimus banner in the libraries for Writing Fridays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky and to have this book commissioned last year, and it's illustrated by a very famous artist, Megan Forward.
Beautiful.
And what else? Oh, I've got another book that I was commissioned, and I should find out in the next day or 2 whether I can start announcing it or not. But I should the day in my diary is tomorrow. So for anything from tomorrow onwards, I should be finding out about my next book. Excellent. So that's pretty exciting.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Oh, go for it.
I was just saying, hopefully I'll have some copies. I don't think I'll have copies for the Logan Writers Festival. That things don't work that fast. But next year or the year after.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today, Karen. It's going to be an absolute pleasure to have you at the festival on our publishers panel.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, you can all come and see Karen and grab some kids' books and grab some incredible memoirs from her when you come to see everyone at the Logan Writers Festival on the 9th and 10th of June. Thank you all for coming, and we will see you then and there.
I'll see you then, Rhiannon. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.